is
Onyeka Valentine.
Right. The conversation today is all about the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, who has reportedly banned the use of mobile phones by staff of the Abuja Geographic Information System and the Department of Land Administration. The move follows the viral video of his heated exchange with the naval officer at a disputed land site in Gaduwa district. Report says Wike was angry that the video leaked from within AGIS and has now restricted phones, especially for staff on grade level 14 and below. Many civil groups and workers have condemned the decision, describing it as harsh and unnecessary. Meanwhile, the Minister of Defense, Badu Abubakar, has thrown support behind the Naval Officer Lieutenant A.M. Yerima, who clashed with Nyesom Wike in that viral video. He praised the officer for staying professional, saying that he was only doing his job. Now, the defense minister insisted that no action would be taken against the soldier and that his ministry would protect any officer performing lawful duties. Well, that's the story from social media, going ahead to ban phones at AGIS, and because that video was released, for me, I think is a reach, because there has to be, more strict firms, a deeper ground for banning phones. Maybe they don't, maybe it makes them lose focus, or they make them, but because of the fact that it's from a selfish standpoint, say you're banning phones because you happen to see how unruly you were with the military, and then you're saying that you're banning phones. That's to me, that's a misuse of power, if you ask me.
For what it is, again, we can only point out those areas that are hiding in gray zones, but it's important as point them out. Let people also see exactly why we're pointing this out, and to do that is also important for them to also see that two wrongs they say don't make it right, but at the same time, it's important that we know why did Wike choose to come there himself? What exactly was he trying to prove? Because you'd be told, if he already had the CDS's number, right, Chief of Defense Staff, who in that video we saw that he placed the call. If he already had that number, so why not?
Maybe he wanted to come see for himself.
So again, then why does he have assistants? I was expecting him to have acted in the capacity of a minister. As the minister of FCT, he is the last line of defense in his ministry, isn't it so? So if he hasn't exhausted options before finally coming himself, then I would say nothing short but truly a childish behavior, which we also saw on social media. And now what this says, because there's a strong meaning. Again, I want to commend the young naval officer for standing his ground, most of them because he was acting on instructions. And in the video, he said, look, that he's acting on instructions from a 3-star general, meaning to say, look, I have no business answering to you, a civilian. My duty and charge to office, or rather charge to stay in place, it's coming from a different authority, void from yours. So, having said so, I will also say that if, for instance, the young man backed down, he could have faltered in his own duty. So he already knew that how important it is to maintain the last order, which is why in the army, I keep telling people, the army is totally is a different ball game, right? How it applies to you as a civilian applies to the army differently. When they tell you go, it is go, not go, stop, branch somewhere. Or they tell you come back, and that's on your way back. I saw sometimes. It is obey the last order. That's why the army is taking care of your health care, taking care of your family, taking care of you as a person, everything. So, having said so, the young man could have seen there'll be more that'll be in jeopardy if he backs down, right, and allow this guy have his way. But having said so, Wike, as someone who is more experienced, could have approached it from the angle of, so you're older than him, because he had to play that card at some point. When he realized he couldn't get across, he could have approached it from that wisdom point of view. Leaving politics or other areas, wisdom point of view that, look, if this young man refuses to back down, what next? He could have thought about that. But again, in his usual fashion, It is fire on, let's go head on head.
And sometimes I wonder if he's on something,
Right.
you know, I always wonder if he's on something, because his conduct it's not good at all for someone in that position. It doesn't inspire the young generation in any way. But you know, it's really good to see how the Minister of Defense has thrown his support behind the naval officer, saying that nothing is going to be done to him. I really appreciate that, and I think that's the way to go, really, because if it was the other way around, then we'll be seeing that people will not be, when it could be a worse situation, and then because you think, because it's this person, and then you just suddenly say, oh yes, we hear you. It could be a worse situation. So these people, allow them do their jobs. If you put them there, then allow them do their jobs. Let's stop misusing power. Let's see some of the reactions on social media and see how Nigerians are reacting to this conversation on the social media space. Peace Canal says Wike's phone ban, straight up toddler tantrum, can't handle his Navy roast going viral. So he yanks gadgets from underlings like a dictator on a budget. Grow up, sir, or join the Stone Age. Oh, that's a strong remark. Flames Baba says if he bans the staff from holding phones, is he going to ban the bystanders watching and recording what was unfolding too? Exactly the point. Oladele A says what the officer did is totally unlawful and it needs to be dealt with accordingly. For the defense minister to defend this type of behavior says nothing good about his personality.
I disagree.
I disagree too. Do you have one more? Big Class says good to hear the Minister of Defense is taking responsibility. Accountability matters, but let's hope this doesn't escalate. Every officer and leader must respect the law. Let's move on from that conversation and move to the National Assembly, where the Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's request to borrow an additional 1.1 trillion naira to close the remaining gap in the 2025 budget deficit. Lawmakers explained that the extra funds are needed after the National Assembly raised the budget to 59.9 trillion naira, increasing the overall deficit to 14 trillion naira. The new loan will be sourced domestically and is expected to fund capital and social projects. The Senate Committee on Appropriations has been directed to ensure close monitoring so the money is used strictly for development purposes. Now we're seeing another trillion naira loan for 2025 budget being approved by Senate. Well, let's see how Nigerians are reacting to the conversation online. Are they for or against it? At the end of the day, we're just going to be keypad words. Whatever it is approved is approved. The Testament podcast says this government borrowing is alarming. No accountability, no Senate disapproval, no question on the appropriateness of funds earlier borrowed. They just keep borrowing. Indebtedness has become our crown. The money to service all these loans is more than money allocated to capital projects. Do we have more reactions? Rivers Trending says another loan approved, another generation indebted. Who is going to pay all these trillions back? The unborn? Every budget season, we borrow more, we build less, and we blame the past. Alatika Baba says 1.15 trillion to fund budget, and yet our lawmakers, ministers, and their assistants are earning billions every month without cutting their wages. We borrow money to pay political class in this country. Cheney Tater says, budget deficit, how? After removing subsidy and increasing taxes exponentially, there is a big haste happening in Nigeria. Well, do you have one or two remarks before we move to our last story?
Right. So, to borrow money is not an evil act. It is when you borrow for something that you know that you can internally generate such funds. Mm-hmm. Simply means that you have misused the opportunity. Because then when you borrow at every, breath, mm-hmm. then you put the nation into a huge point of debt. Because the time when you now actually need that money, right, you probably not going to get approval for it. And so the question is, even after borrowing this money, what is the plan on ground to be able to pay back? Even if the money is being borrowed from internally, right? what is the plan to mitigate issues in an event where you can't meet up that particular deadline? Is it that you will find your way and wriggle out of it such a way that it will not extend to when you leave office, so that the next person coming on board will not inherit such wahala? So these are the things that people should look out for. However, to run the country is not cheap at all. It's not easy. There is no country that hasn't borrowed before. Even the United States of America has borrowed before. But remember this. Look, when you're not the one printing the money, it's far more difficult. In the US, they print money, So even if they borrow, they're the ones that print, they can print dollars. Now, I don't want to go in depth of how much it costs to print all that. That's not necessary. But what matters the most is now we're talking about them saying we want to approve. I hope they will not approve and come back and say, wait a minute, there's some issue going on. Can we also pad it? Can we add more? Already, we're in debt already, running to trillions. And so the question is, who's going to pay that money? But if they're going to borrow and then we see some key areas being sorted out, right? Like healthcare being sorted out, like fighting insurgency, not just fighting, destroying, erasing, total annihilation of insurgents and terrorists to give us that perfect, narrative, perfect face in the eyes of the international world. If they say they have to borrow for this particular reason, then I will say, look, go ahead, but not borrow money and go and dump money in maybe Calabar Coastal Road again. We don't want to see that. Look, let other internal generated funds be used for that Calabar Coastal Road. Yes, Lagos is making a lot of money, and the road starts from Lagos here. Let's be honest, right? If they're going to borrow money, let it go into key projects or key sectors that our country may fail if we don't put money into it, like security, right? Like healthcare. Only in the papers today, we saw that, some states are owing gratuity to the tune of 620-something billion naira. So I'm thinking, aren't they human beings who you're holding their money? Why is the money being held? Are they using the money to trade in banks? Because people do a lot of things in the government. And so if you're going to borrow money, let's say the money goes into those areas. We don't want to see money going into projects that before we start realizing money from it will probably take another 20-something years. What kind of deadbeat investment is that? So if we must go at borrowing, let us borrow with sense. And if we must, disburse the money after borrowing, let us also disburse it with sense.
Right.
This nation cannot continue to live under borrow. At some point, are we going to mortgage the whole country? Big question.
Finally, let's move on now and talk about something in the world of entertainment. Nigeria media personality Tacha, simply Tacha, Big Brother, one-time Big Brother housemate, has officially become a double Guinness World Record holder. Now, Guinness confirmed her achievement for the most cosmetic makeovers done by an individual in both 8-hour and 24-hour categories. Tacha completed 82 makeovers in 8 hours and 144 in 24 hours during a Tacha Beauty Festival in Lagos. She dedicated the record to her late mother and her fans, saying it's proof that hard work and passion always pays off. Now, at the start of the year, I remember clearly, first of all, congratulations to Natasha Kide, simply Tacha, because she had, at the start of the year, said that she was going to do something phenomenal, and she had mentioned doing this world record and breaking the Guinness World Record for makeover and all of that. And at the start of the year, I'm sure some people would have just said, oh, this is another just making mouth and all. But she has shown us what it means to be about the talk. She said this in January, about January 10 or something, and then this is November, and she's done it. And not just one record, 2 records at a go. And she did that. This one's for all the girls that, have a belief, have a goal, whatever it is, however small, however big, and go for it. And here she is today, holding a Guinness World Record for the most makeovers done in about 8 hours, and also 24 and 144 in 24 hours. That's 2 at a time. She's done something phenomenal. One thing about Tasha is I've seen that whatever she wants to go for, she goes for it, regardless of whoever is watching or whoever thinks, oh, she's not qualified, she goes for it and then she does.
It's good. I mean, truth be told, the more we have Nigerians putting us out there in the map for good reasons, I mean, 100% welcome. Let's be honest. I think that the creative sector, eventually one day will bail Nigeria out of the whole issue that we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Because look at it now. We're doing well in music. We have
fashion.
Yes, we have successfully exported Afrobeat to the world. Where as soon as we hear our Afrobeat sound, everybody turns around and says, that is Nigeria. So
everyone gets dancing.
So now,
it's never the case.
Yes, now it's now makeup. So for me, what I want to see is now that she has, been recognized by the Guinness World Record Organization, I want to see it turn to money. As a businessman, I'm thinking already, is it possible? If not possible, can the government now say, look, now that the world has its eye on you as someone who has made it, gotten a record via makeup, can we not only have all the, makeup, imported here, can we also make it such a way that we can empower people? Let us be able to say, we use this platform as, a door opener to begin to say, who do we empower? How do we have factories that can actually manufacture makeup in large quantity and begin to export, right? And make sure that no other person in the world beats that.
I'm certain rather that if Tacha follows the line or toes the line of the like of Hilda Bassi, who has really done well with the Guinness World Record platform. It's a free record, but it's what you do with it. If Tacha decides to toe in the same line of Hilda Bassi, trust me, this business angle that you're looking at will definitely be actualized. Because one thing that Hilda Bassi has done with the platform, there are so many great chefs in Nigeria. I don't want to mention names, amazing chefs who were big and well known. But after winning the Guinness World Record, Hilda Bassi, just went up there. She started our own, our own restaurant, which is doing well, by the way, in Lekki. She also happens to, train, young chefs. Not just chefs, it could be me, it could be you. If you want to learn, she has courses that she's put out there. She's making money and also empowering people. Now, by a restaurant also, she's also empowering people. She has staff that and interestingly, our mom also has her own restaurant, which is like the more indigenous version of hers, because obviously she learned. The family is even a cooking family, right? So the mom has something in another state. So it's just wisdom and how they've managed to expand. So I believe that with what you've said, because one thing I know is that at some point Tacha had a lipstick brand, so she might now, yes, she introduced something, but maybe it didn't sell. She's always been very enterprising, so hopefully she would now make use of this platform and this publicity she's getting to do something so much more. But we can take a look at some of the comments this morning. I know that there are a lot of congratulatory remarks. We can take one or two, not sure, but congratulations to makeover again. I thought the record should be something that's hard to do. Well, it's easy to speak. Like I always say, it's easy to speak when you're on the speaking side, not when you're on the doing side. People are out there doing things. There are people out there condemning. Credit to Hilda for awakening all of them. Exactly what I said, including the chess guy. If Hilda never did a cricketon, nobody would have been sensible enough to try to break their stuff. Well, that's what we'll leave it today on Social Listen. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We hope you enjoyed the show. Tomorrow is another day to watch the BDTV Breakfast Show. Exciting news, a business update, and we'll also check out what's trending on social media. And of course, the big story where we look at a very topical situation and then we analyze it with our expert guest also on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Elizabeth Musa.
I'm Onyeka.
See you tomorrow.